amazing artists come out of it, and writers like Mike Barron, Steve Rude, Jerry Ordway,
Okay.
lots of people.
Yeah.
So there's something about Midwest and all that milk. And maybe for some of us all that beer. There's something about
something in the water.
that pot, and the fact that you have Wisconsin and all the serial killers that come from there to I guess we find ways to try, some of us, to put all that Wisconsin angst into creative means instead of and some people just don't do that well.
You gotta channel it a different way.
I always look back. I went to Marquette University.
Okay.
Little knowing that when I would drive there and leave my car in front, often I would say like 5-10 times I even parked in front of Dahmer's house without knowing.
Whoa.
Like stuff like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you have like all this awesome stuff about Milwaukee, and then some not so awesome stuff. But the artists that come out of there, the writers that come out of there, amazing. So Alberto. This is the first time I worked with Alberto, even though he did a bunch of really great stuff for me in the past. And then there's an artist I work with all the time who kind of dealt with inking and coloring and the covers and stuff like that. And that's Zach Brunner.
Okay.
And Zach has like penciled, inked, and colored a number of my original graphic novels, like The Runner and The High Cost of Happily Ever After, of which I'm immensely proud all the time. So whenever there's a chance to bring Zach in on a project, I always do it. He's my go-to colorist, my go-to,
And that's what I was going to ask next year. I would say he is there that one go-to like you always do. There we go. So how did, number one, you guys got the book together, you guys got it all ready to go, and now you're at the pitch phase. Where do you pitch it?
Well, we didn't even pitch it. I mean, Luigi was just immediately, he was like, no, Jim, we'll do it. We'll figure out our publisher later. So he funded the whole thing. He brought me on as a creative partner with him. I found artists, and we just did it. Okay,
so did you guys just fund it? Was it just completely out of pocket, or
he funded it completely out of
no
pocket?
crowdfunding, no Kickstarting, anything?
No Kickstarter. And I've never even done a Kickstarter. And I'm like, oh wait, that looks pretty good. I think I should do that. That's a fun thing.
A lot of people have it during the pandemic. A lot of the guys who weren't getting any work, or they saw that their books weren't being shipped out during that time, they went over to Scout or Kickstarter and started kickstarting books.
See, that's cool.
Yeah, that's how who did Scott Snyder did it.
Oh yeah, he did.
They did it. And a handful of other things. There's a handful of Keanu Reeves did one.
Yeah.
for Berserker, and now it's out on Boom. So cool. So and did you guys always want it to be at Scout, or were there other places that you guys thought?
Initially, we didn't have any one place in mind, but I've known Brendan Deneen for years, and we did Phoenix together at Atlas Comics, and I did a short story for his Flash Gordon anthology, and we've just been friends for years.
Yeah.
So, and I've been seeing how the industry is changing, and I keep on seeing this great stuff coming out of Scout.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, this is a place to be.
I agree, and it's one of the reasons that we started this show was because of that. Because we've noticed that Scout was doing a whole lot of great things. We noticed that a lot of creators were coming out, and on top of it all, they follow Kickstarter books or all these crowdfunding books, and they approach the creators and they bring their stuff that's already been out, funded on Kickstarter and all this stuff, and it's creator owned. Then they bring them over to Scout and then republish it through that way, so that even more eyes can get their hands on it, or people can get their hands on it.
Yeah, it's really awesome,
which is super cool. And when I saw that they brought you on with this book, I said, okay, I like these books. I like Earth X. I like Marvel X. I like all these books that you've done. These iconic books with these covers that you have with Alex Ross and all this stuff, right? Amazing. And I said, okay, cool. I want to know what this book's about. I want to know a little bit more about this. I'm on board. So let's talk a
In
little
fact,
bit.
I feel like I should say even more about the book.
Yeah, talk. Oh,
Because like even story wise, I think like once people know what we're doing, they'll be like, "Oh, that's crazy." So I'm giving away something, but it's on the show. It's it's cool. So the idea that these two demons, why they're after this doctor, is because he's discovered a way to use various forms of radiation to kill a soul, to actually destroy a supernatural being.
Wow.
And so for these demons, they can end the suffering of hell while promoting themselves up within it.
That's interesting. So how do you come up with a story like that? What kind of, is there any kind of research involved? Because that sounds like
Luigi's a doctor.
Okay.
And so he had all these ideas that he was looking at, and there's so much talk about how there's so much electricity between bodies, and yet electricity can only change form; it can't actually end. But what if there was a way to end it? And that ultimately relates to, the atom bomb. It relates to radiation. It relates to all that sort of thing. So it was then positing the question, well, what if you could kill a soul? What if you could change that? And so that turns out to be the secret that then everyone wants.
Yeah, that sounds, and the wheels are moving in my head. I'm just like, oh, and then, this is
when you
great.
think about it, when you think about it, it's like, oh, well, if a soul could be killed, a suffering soul in hell, how would heaven respond to that?
Yeah. And because
how would people respond to that? How would churches respond to that?
Would they respond? And my first instinct is, would they respond and say, hey, this is too much power. You can't have this kind of power.
Totally.
Because this kind of power is, in the wrong hands, can be detrimental.
Totally. And we go there.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So what I'm thinking, what we're expecting is hopefully what we're going to get. Awesome. So tell me a little bit more. I want to know a little bit about you. We talked about how you already knew some of the guys over there. It was all him and all this stuff. And then I saw that he had the story.
Well, we had it completed.
Scripted, right?
So we sent it over there for them to read.
How did they receive it?
Yeah, they loved it.
Obviously, it's there now.
Like immediately they wanted to do it. But then, COVID hit, and that put stalls on things and held things back. So
awesome. So I want to know a little bit about the creative process on this book here. Let's dive a little deep, and I don't want to give too much away, but I do want to know. Obviously, you said he's a doctor. Did you guys collaborate a lot? You said he already had the story a lot, but you had to adapt it.
Script, and I would say that maybe it was a sizable change. It was like, well, what if we did this? And when someone else has a script or someone else has a story, and then they want me to be involved, I get nervous, because a lot of times creators, anyone, is precious about their work. They don't. They're like, oh, no, this is the reason I did this. This is why I wanted to do this. And you know what? That was not Luigi's way at all. He was so awesome. He was like, I was like, you know what? I think it's a better idea if this becomes the quest of the entire thing. We use a lot of these other aspects in it, but this seems like the story to be told in this. And he was supportive and agreeable and just kind of let me go with it the entire way. The only thing he was precious about was the title.
Okay.
But you should talk to him about that. He's explained to me many times.
Don't change the title, he said.
Yeah, no matter what, that's the thing that could not change.
So I had a couple friends. They sent in some questions.
Oh, good.
And I'm looking for those now. And okay. I can't find it.
Okay, while you're looking, why don't I do an ad for myself? Talk
about
projects.
Please.
People can come and find me. If you want to follow me, probably the best place to follow me is on Instagram. It's simply the letter M, and then Jim Krueger. So it's like I'm Jim Krueger. And of projects I've done, people know me, of course, for the Earth X trilogy, and now the prequel, Marvel's X. There's Justice, which I did with Alex, and is won the Eisner, and is such a beautiful book. It's always on the top 10 Justice League stories of all time list, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I did Avengers Invaders with Marvel years and years ago. I've done Buffy. I've done Star Wars. I've of my indie projects, my first big project was Foot Soldiers, which was a story of 3 kids that go to the graveyard where all the superheroes are buried and they rob the graves. That's how they get their powers. They try to fill the actual shoes. There's the No Ones, which is about a team of celebrity heroes that get cursed to insignificance. So no matter what they do, it will be forgotten a minute or two later. There's the High Cost of Happily Ever After, and The Runner, which I mentioned with Zach Brunner in the past. I've been really lucky to work with so many good artists and so many good people.
Cool.
X-Men. I have a number of X-Men things.
So are you a huge fan
Batman,
of all these?
Some Superman. And in fact, I have a Superman story I so want to tell one day.
Oh, really? I see you picked up a Superbook.
Oh, well, I picked this up. Can I show this?
Yeah. There's cameras right over here.
The Superman Annual number 4. This was my first introduction to John Paul Leon, who sadly died recently, but became, my artist on Earth X.
Oh, wow. So cool.
He's so good. Cool. Just the way he drew the characters in the DC universe as well as the Marvel, like it was like high art.
Yeah, so cool. So my buddy here, Chris, he is the co-host of another podcast.
Awesome.
Their podcast is called they do indie books, but he's a huge comic book fan connoisseur. He's sometimes the guy that I go to for my questions.
Oh, cool.
He knows it all. Whoops, my microphone's falling out. And he's a co-host of the Professor Fenzi show, and he said he wanted to know how you got into Earth X, or how you became involved initially.
Let me ask this question.
Sure.
Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're live. I don't think. Go right ahead.
Okay. Well, I started out in advertising.
Okay.
I started out writing. I was a copywriter at agencies in Wisconsin, writing things like writing ads for things like Teat Dip, which is what you rub on a cow's udders before you milk them.
Okay, I need to know what you wrote.
Oh, I talked to some farmers. I did my research, and they were like, "Yeah, Teat Dip is Teat Dip," but they were all really funny. Like they were really enjoyable, clever people.
Yeah,
that was different than maybe some people would have expectations of. So I did a pleasure principle.
Okay.
For and it was like happy cows make happy milk. It was like that.
Okay.
It was like, the hands down favorite of bovines everywhere. It was like all that kind of thing. And then I wrote ads for the Sheboygan Coho Salmon Festival every year, that giant contest, and that included lines like "hang out with the local hookers," keep your fly open for 3 days in August.
Oh my gosh.
Stuff like that. Got a lot of notice and stuff like that, but there wasn't all that much work in Wisconsin at the time, and so I did a campaign for myself, talking about my abilities and my abilities to write advertising and stuff like that, and just bit by bit, every couple of days, sent a new piece about me to Marvel, including my portfolio and stuff like that, and they hired me. So I started writing ads for Marvel.
Sweet.
And then that led to me doing promo things and writing ash cans for Marvel and anything promotional. And I helped Tim Toohey. Tim Toohey was the editor of the fan mail Vision for Marvel. And so I was one of his contributing writers. And so I did this thing at the time called Time Slip, in which we would hire a current artist to draw one of the characters, one of the classic Marvel characters, but they had to do it in such a way that they had to almost discipline themselves so that they don't know what Jack Kirby did. They ignore what Steve Ditko did, or Ramita did, or Buscema did. And so they would approach it and say, they had to act like they were in the bullpen on day one and draw this character according to their first inspiration.
Yeah.
And then I would write an alternate history to the characters. And Alex, who was already like, we were already good friends, he just loved those things. Like interestingly enough, and related to Earth X, my first job at Marvel was going to a convention and taking Alex around and introducing him to people for Marvels.
Yeah.
For the first Marvels. Okay. And at the time we walked around and we just geeked over our love for Kirby, including Machine Man, who then years later became, kind of the main narrator of Earth X. But anyhow, Alex loved these write-ups I did, and this was right after Kingdom Come, and Wizard contacted him and said, how would you approach the Marvel characters? So Alex did a number of sketches and said, and his sketches are not like sketches. They're like these beautiful finished pencils.
I'm on his mailing list.
Oh yeah. And so I was like, he said, he came to me and he said, look, now we finally have a chance to work together. I love what you do on those time slips. Why don't you do a write-up for each of these sketches, because it's going to be an article in Wizard. And then Marvel saw it and they were really excited by it, and they said, well, let's do it as a real project. And Alex came to me and said, I don't have a story. Like Marvel's, I had a story. Kingdom Come, I had a story. I don't have a story other than the fact that I'm sick of the X-Men, and so let's just make all the world X-Men. He said, basically, there's a plague that turns everyone into X-Men. And he's like, but I don't have a story. And I remember at the time, one night, I had just become a new father, so I was thinking about things like birth and placenta and all these different things you have to deal with. That's not the swearing, by the way. But it was like, and how the immune system works, and how a mother carries a child. Like I was thinking about all that stuff, and it just dawned on me: superheroes are the immune system. This is how Celestials reproduce. And by the way, if I'm like, Earth is an egg, it's taking that a very literal approach to Mother Earth, and the reason Galactus even consumes planets is because he's keeping a balance, and so he's really consuming Celestials and stuff like that, and making sure that they don't take over. Like it was just this thing where I called Alex that night and just got his answering machine, and I feel like I babbled for an hour and 15 minutes talking about every little thing, and it almost this is one of the few projects in my life that, like, it was fully formed when I started. Like I was just writing it. It was just like, it flowed like nothing else ever has.
That's so cool. You gotta love that when it works out that way, when it's just like, it's just fluid and clean. You're just like, okay, that was easy.
And you know what?
Well,
I mean,
easy, right?
I had written things like Foot Soldiers and stuff like that before, so at least I had some experience writing scripts, and I had gone to film school. I had done different things like that.
That's got to be so cool to kind of just put your foot in the door. That's kind of what I do at cons, because I work the cons and locally, and that's what I do. I just run the creators around. Everywhere.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It's
and
so
then you get
fun.
to meet them and
talk to them, talk about stuff,
and you get to be a bit of a badass. And
you know, everybody else, you're like, I'm ready.
Not everyone. Here's my moment. Not everyone at Marvel was happy about this project.
Oh, really?
I remember going, because I was this copywriter downstairs, and all of a sudden I was getting to write this, and I remember going by one editor's office, and he didn't know I was outside, but he had just gotten the call that I was doing this project, that the president himself of Marvel had just said, okay, we're doing this. I heard him go, fuck Jim Krueger. And then that day I was like, okay, I need to turn this guy into fuck Jim Krueger.
So that
was the goal.
There you go. And did you get that?
No, but we're friends now on Facebook, so I guess all is good. because if you're friends on Facebook, all is good.
Right? until they block you, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't do anything political or religious on Facebook, so I just want to talk about comics.
There you go, man.
And movies.
That's the biggest mistake sometimes is putting that stuff out there on Facebook, right? I love that story. That's such a cool story to kind of talk about here. Super cool. We're running out of time here. I don't want this to go too long because I want this episode to be at least an hour, not 2 hours.
Oh my gosh! And you know what? I want to buy some more comics.
And yeah, let's walk around and hang out and talk some comic books, man. So everybody, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us right here on Two Scout Geeks. Remember to head on over to twoscoutgeeks.com and listen to all the cool archived episodes. Jim gave you guys a rundown of everywhere you can find it, but please drop your social media accounts again one more time.
Oh, it's on Instagram. It's just I'm Jim Krueger. I am JimKrueger.
There you go. Awesome. And then make sure you guys keep an eye out for No Hero or No. What the heck am I thinking?
No, I'm going to wait until you get this.
No Ghosts in Hiroshima. I almost said no Hiroshima and Ghosts. It's backwards. I dyslexia.
Well, you know what? I mean, Luigi, he will be after you.
He's going to be after me now. He's like, you told me that
the title is so important.
He did not want that title.
And there are reasons. Like, I'm not just making a joke for the sake of making a joke.
Yeah.
There are reasons, and if you study into it, those reasons will reveal themselves. And so the title is actually really clever.
Fantastic. And we got when is the first issue hitting? Is it next month?
I think
July?
next month. Or
I think it's July something.
Yeah.
I forget. I don't have it. That's my fault. Whatever. Sue me. Anyway, yeah.
Don't sue him. Don't. He's just trying, everybody. He's trying. Don't sue him.
We're on location. I just want to get to playing some of these video games.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of that great line in The Nice Guys. You know, where he goes, stick a fork in me, and he's like, no, don't stick a fork in me.
Right. Yeah. And just like that, we're done, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Make sure you guys head on over to Two Scout Geeks and
Jesse James Comics.
Jesse James Comics. Check it out. If you guys can't physically be here, go to jessejamescomics.com, and you guys, he literally, they do hours and hours and hours of live streaming with CBSN, the Comic Book Shopping Network. Seriously, head on over there. It's so cool. You guys will find all the cool stuff that you guys want, and you guys can order them. They ship them right out to you guys, and they will arrive nice and clean because they do a good job wrapping it. Like, awesome. Seriously, like that's the worst thing is getting books that you've bought and you're like, oh, I'm waiting for this, and then they come in damaged.
Oh, you know what else really bothers me these days is when you get that protective, like, cardboard thing that folds up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But people have taped the comics on the inside. So by removing the tape, you're actually adding bends to the comic.
Yeah.
Like,
don't do that. Please. Just tape the cardboard. That's it. And you know what else I prefer on the inside of my comic books? I would like, and if anybody out there, that I've gotten so many books sent to me, use masking tape on the inside. Like when you tape down anything to stay, use the masking tape because it's easier to pull off.
It's a lot easier.
A lot easier. So it doesn't do that. Good tip.
It's just being nice.
There you go.
You know,
and it's
like Spider-Man says in Marvel's X, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
There you go. And I think that's a great note to leave off. So we'll see you guys next time. This portion of the interview will be inserted into an episode coming up here in the next few weeks. So stick around for that one. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.